Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Five-A-Side podcast. I'm Fergus Smith and I'm joined by my good friends Matthew Thompson,
Hello?
Billy Kirkpatrick,
Hello there.
Craig Gregor,
Hello.
and finally Ross Dewar.
Evening.
Right, since it's our first episode, we're going to start off with short introductions. So, Matt, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure, so I'm Matt, and basically I'm a math student and also work with plants, and I think the only thing more embarrassing than that is I'm also a Celtic fan. So I'm sure this is going to be rather enjoyable for me this evening. Pass it on.
Pass you on to Billy now.
Hi there, yes, I'm Billy. I work in financial services during the day, and then when we're not in a pandemic at the weekend, I am a semi-professional referee, which means I'm used to being abused for 90 minutes. So I'm looking to bring a unique perspective to this podcast by going over the main talking points of all the games.
And I'll hand over to Craig now to introduce himself.
I'm Craig. I'm a failed student. I'm a big Air fan. I do go to most of the games when available, when it's allowed. So I'll be the championship expert. So for this podcast.
And Ross, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi there, I'm Ross. I'm a business student and a Rangers supporter. For once in a long time, I'm actually delighted to be a Rangers supporter, and it's a good chance for me to bring my side to the stories. I had a season ticket at Ibrox for about 13 years. Bad to give it up due to studies, but yeah, I'm looking forward to being part of this podcast and hopefully bringing something different.
And
I'll
finally,
pass you back to
myself. I'm Fergus. I'm an apprentice plumber during the day and a bit of a waster the rest of the time, but sadly I'm a Celtic fan at the moment. But we've had 9 great years, and hopefully we're back with a bang next season. And without further ado, we're going to start our podcast this week with, since it's the 1st of February, we're going to go on to the transfer news, some key transfers from the first month of this year, and the winter transfer window. I believe Craig's going to take the head on this one.
So some of the key transfers we've had this year. I will start us off in the premiership. So we started off with the likes of Eamon Brophy going from Kelly to St Mirren on loan, but there's a pre-contract at the end of the season. Jackson Irvine coming from Hull to Hibs. Chris Cadden, he came back from America, back to over to Hibs. Stephen Lawless, he came from Burton Albion to Motherwell. Those were the incoming transfers into the league. The outgoing, the key incoming transfers into the league anyway. Outgoing ones, there was Paul McMullen making the walk down the road to Dundee from Dundee United. It was a loan but pre-contract at the end of the season. Probably the main one, which was Frimpong going from Celtic to Bayer Leverkusen. Roughly about 12 million is the rumoured price. Anyone know?
Yeah, somewhere just shy of that.
So and then we've got Sam Cosgrove leaving Aberdeen after a decent spell here, going to Birmingham for about 2 million. So that's a good signing for them. Ross Stewart leaving Ross County to go to Sunderland for about 300 grand, and Stevie Mallon leaving Hibs to go to, pardon my pronunciation here, Yeni Malatyaspor on loan.
It's a good thing you're fluent in Turkish.
So there you go. We'll see how he gets on in the Turkish Super League.
Does that mean Ross County have lost 2 Rosses during this transfer window?
It does, because Ross Doohan has went back to Celtic, so
They built some team of Rosses there, hadn't they?
they had.
They've still got the other. They've still got the other Rosses.
They do.
As
they've
well.
I'm sure
Ross
they'll
Laidlaw
rebuild in the
there.
summer.
Yeah.
Full Ross rebuild. So, are we wanting to speak about any of those in particular?
I want to touch on the kind of Sam Cosgrove one, and it just kind of goes to show when he first joined Aberdeen, couldn't score, couldn't shoot, but then turned it around and has earned himself a very good move down south to the Championship to Birmingham City side who are kind of on the turn. So it just goes to show that first impressions aren't necessarily everything up in Scotland.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very good striker. Obviously, he's tall and physical, and he really, although a very slow start here, he surely picked up in last season. I'm pretty sure he was second or third top goal scorer. I could be wrong with that, but
Yeah, something like that.
He was definitely up top 5.
On the topic of Birmingham City, they do still have a deal in for Kevin Nisbet, who has apparently handed in a transfer request. So need to hear more of that across the night before the window closes, if anything occurs. But Cosgrove and Nisbet could be quite a good strike partnership.
Yeah, and I'm sure one of the people on this podcast will be very sad to see Nisbet leave the SPL. He's a big fan.
He's a big fan of
I
Nisbet.
will be very sad when Nisbet leaves. But it's going to give him a good opportunity to prove himself, perhaps, for the Scotland team in the future, because him and Cosgrove could end up working very well together. Wish him all the best.
Agree.
You've got quite a few of the players that are on the verge of the Scotland squad too. Will be trying to find moves maybe to get into the Euros or that.
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but I've just seen it been announced that Kevin Nisbet is staying at Hibs.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. I'm
It's
still
just
a
been
happy
announced.
man.
He's not making the move this transfer window.
Well,
That'll be that rumour debunked straight
yes,
away then.
there you go.
Yeah, just announced there.
Oh.
Well, there you go. One that I wanted to touch on just quickly was the fact that Jackson Irvine, obviously we had on the books at Celtic a few years ago. Never managed to break through, but now he's found himself at Hibs, hopefully getting some game time. And he was pretty influential at the weekend as well, as I'm sure we're going to touch on. So I think he could work out to be a decent signing for them going forward, especially for free.
Considering he hasn't played much football and he had to train himself whilst in Australia, he should have done some job coming back. And I felt he played pretty well in games, which we'll touch upon later on in the podcast.
No, I agree.
Yeah, could see that signing is probably the one that's pushed Stevie Mallon to try and find a way out and get himself some football again, because he wasn't getting much, and that would have pushed him down the pecking order.
He's got a traditionally very Turkish name, so I think he'll fit in quite well. So I'll see how he does.
One that struck me was Eamon Brophy going to St Mirren, and I feel like the player he was the last couple of seasons, obviously he's fallen off a bit, but if someone at St Mirren can find that again for him, I think definitely he could be a great signing for them in terms of just keeping them in the Premiership.
Yeah, when he was at Kelly, he did have a couple of that season where he pushed himself into the Scotland squad at how good his form was. Albeit it was a time where we were struggling for any prolific goal scorer.
Strikers, yeah.
But
But now we're blessed with prolific goal scorers in Scotland, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
Flooded.
Well, Lee Griffiths is he's back playing, so you've got that one to look forward to for the Euros, possibly.
Yeah, that's
You never
Griffith's 7th start of the season, I believe, at the weekend.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll touch on later.
We'll touch on him later, because I think I've got a bit of something to say, but we'll touch on that later.
Yeah. I think for St Mirren though, I mean, if you look at the bottom half of this table, or the Premiership table, is very tight, and you're getting someone that can score a fair few goals. Honestly, that position in the top 6 for someone's there for the taking, because none of the teams like Motherwell that I thought would be up there seem to be doing particularly well this season. So getting someone in that can actually score some goals could really do them a favour.
And keep them away from Hamilton, because we cannot have Hamilton in the league again.
No, we need rid of Hamilton.
No, they keep doing it every year, and I still think they'll do it this year.
I agree. Hamilton will stay up.
On record, I will say Hamilton will stay up this season.
Well, who's going to finish
They'll
12?
find a way.
Who do I get as?
Ross County, somebody like that.
I tell you what,
I'm going for Hamilton to finish bottom.
No.
It's bold,
that,
but I think Hamilton will finish bottom.
Is it?
I'm going to go Kelly.
Yeah,
I think it,
they are.
I
They are
think it all
struggling.
depends on. I think it
It
all
all
depends on who
depends on
Kelly
who you
get
bring
in.
in,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't
I
know.
think the teams around them, have changed their managers earlier on, so there's more time to get the squad dynamics better, which should, in theory, develop better relationships to try and get results. I think with Kelly they might have left it too late. I don't think they'll have enough to keep it in. I mean, depends what they do the rest of the transfer window, but they haven't really done much. The squad's threadbare. They've really struggled financially. I, I do think they could be, if not 12th, they'll be in the playoff place, definitely, for me personally.
Yeah,
yeah.
they could be in trouble.
I don't
I
particularly
agree.
think that replacing Brophy with George Oakley was a big move for them. I was never really a
No.
fan of George
Just
Oakley.
a cheap option.
Feels a major step back. Like Brophy,
Yeah,
although hadn't been hitting the form, he definitely offers something in these sort of games where you need to sneak a wee goal here or there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Touching on what
Nah,
Billy said, though, Matt and Fergie will know all about keeping your manager too long.
mhm.
Yep, typical. Um, while we're still on transfers, have you got any championship transfers you want to
jump
discuss?
onto the champ.
Yes.
So some of the key ones, like as an Air fan, the three main ones we brought in: Corey and Daba from Ipswich on loan. We brought in Andre Wright from Bohemians. He's a striker. Got quite decent stats, so hoping to see something from him. And then we brought in one tonight, who I believe is McGavin. His first name has passed me.
I believe it's
Brett.
Shooter.
Shooter. No, I believe it's Brett
No.
McGavin. That is
Brett
correct.
McGavin.
Who was on trial with us this time last year, but we didn't sign him, so hoping to see something from him. A few other signings. Wraith they've got Kai Kennedy on loan from Rangers, who quite exciting prospect for them to bring in. So we'll see what he's got to offer. Wraith have also brought in Timmy Abraham, not to be confused with Tammy Abraham. They've brought him a striker on loan in from Fulham. So the main contenders in the Championship transfer window this window were Hearts and Dundee. Though Dundee bringing in Paul McMullen on loan from Dundee United, like I said. Malachi Fagan Walcott on loan from Tottenham, and then Jason Cummings, which is a massive one, I think. He did so well with Hibs in the Championship before, and also in the Premiership. So we'll see what he's got to offer.
Cummings was a great finisher, although didn't achieve that much at Rangers. Certainly did the job for Hibs, and I reckon probably could do the job for them looking up into the Premiership next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Hearts, so they managed to get Gary Mackay-Steven from New York City, which is a massive signing. He is, in my opinion, he's far too good for this division. So we'll need to see how he gets up to. Be interesting to watch that game on Friday night versus Ayr. So we'll see how he does. They also brought in Armand Nandwile from Blackpool, a new striker who he got 2 goals in his debut. So we'll see how he gets on. And the final signing I'm going to talk about is Dunfermline getting Scott Banks on loan from Palace. He's quite a good young prospect. I know that my Billy is a big fan of him. Usually one of his first signings in a Football Manager whenever we play. So we'll see how he gets on.
I mean, we obviously said in his signing interview that he was playing well for the under-23s in the Premier League for Palace, but I don't think it quite compares to the physical side of things for the actual what the men's game holds. You can have all the technical ability in the world, but if you can't handle the knocks and the bumps of the actual men's game, you're not going to make it. But I think he'll be a very good signing for Dunfermline. I think once he gets some game time, once he settles down, I think he will cause defences an absolute handful. With just his general skill, to be probably honest, he could probably play for a lower Prem team. So it's a very, very good signing for Dunfermline.
Well, in saying that, I don't think, well, in my opinion, there's not too much of a difference between the lower end Prem and the higher end Championship teams. It's you could, if you put them up against each other, would bat the Championship to beat teams to beat some of the lower end Prem teams. So
Yeah, no.
Especially the way some of them are playing.
I think probably more a point there is that at the lower end Premier, you are playing your Celtics, your Rangers,
Yeah,
your Aberdeen's,
obviously.
your Hibs. It's probably better for development in that sense. I think you get more out of a game against higher level opposition than you would against no disrespect, an Alwater and a Prof.
Got to agree there.
Yeah.
So,
You're not going to get the same out of it.
any other signings that stick out there? Anyone?
I think the one that I noticed was obviously Kai Kennedy going to Wraith. I know Drew will probably be much more well versed on how good a prospect he is, but just watching the highlights from their game at the weekend, he really stood out to me a few times. He was making good runs, cutting inside, causing all sorts of problems, and he looks as if he's quite an exciting young prospect for Wraith. So I think he'll kick on and offer quite a lot this season.
Yeah, got to agree with you, Matt. Obviously, they're looking at sort of the bigger picture. A lot of Rangers players going out on loan. Dapo, who's also went out on loan. Guys like that who might not get an opportunity for Rangers given the way they play currently, but great experience for them playing in the Championship, playing guys who know the game and know the game very well, and it's physical, and they get game time. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes for him. Certainly he started extremely well at his time at Wraith.
Yeah,
Yep.
some of the other ones that went on loan from Rangers, like you've got Josh McPate going to Harrogate Town, Dapo and Boody going to Queen of the South, obviously. Glenn Middleton going across to St Johnson. That could be somewhere where he can find his feet. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we've seen Glenn Middleton. He played against Ayr, didn't he, when we went up to Ibrox to watch
Yeah,
Ayr play
it was
against
Yeah,
him? And
he
he was quite a hassle.
a couple of seasons ago
He
now,
looks,
yeah.
looks a good, yeah, a couple of years back. So he looks as if he's got the prospect to be a really good player. Just sort of needs the game time now, which hopefully will get us at Johnson.
So is that all the Championship transfers covered then?
Well, one of the ones that I thought was key that was also linked into the Premiership one was Paul McMillan coming to Dundee. When he was at Dundee United, I've always thought he was one of their better players. Like, well, in the Championship last season, whenever they played there, I always thought he was one of their better players. And on the ball, he's very good on the ball. He's got a good cross on him. So it's just one of those other ones that Dundee have seemed to have built a decent team. Whether they can get the results with it is a different matter.
Yeah, no, it does look a good signing for them. Maybe he's just moved there to be a bit closer to home. Must be from a bit further down
Yeah.
Dundee.
Yeah, must have been feeling homesick.
Yeah, that's it. Said they needed a change of scenery.
So if that's it, then without further ado, we'll move on to the games, the actual games. And we're going to start midweek. It's been a busy week, and we're going to start midweek Championship. Get that out of the way. So the first game we've got is Wraith Rovers 0, Heart of Midlothian 4. And who would like to start us off in that one? Any thoughts?
Well, I've got to say to start with, what a contrast from the game 2 weekends ago now, where Wraith went out and destroyed Hearts at Tynecastle. So seems that really Hearts didn't like that result. They came out angry midweek. So yeah.
Angry football, they want to bite back.
Yeah.
I did notice they started quite brightly. Both teams actually started quite brightly, but Hearts just eventually wore down Wraith enough and scored their first goal in the 36th minute through Boyce.
Yep, I know Rafe didn't have a shot on target, which kind of signifies the significance of the way Hearts played. I know Jamie McDonald had to make 3 or 4 key saves, and really, like, if it wasn't for him, it could have been a rugby score, perhaps.
Yeah, I think we all know how good a squad Hearts have got. Like, they've got a Premiership quality squad basically.
Yeah, for the Championship.
So
yeah.
really, what they can do is grind down teams to the point where they do open up, and then it can be open season 4-5-0s. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few more of them as the season goes on.
Yeah. The first goal just sort of epitomised Boyce for me. Like, you can't let him do what he did for that first goal in that league. the way he picks up the ball, turns 2 or 3 players, just runs through them,
Nicely
lays it
1-2.
off while he makes the run into the box, and then to coolly finish over the goalkeeper like that, I just you can't let him do that.
Yeah, no, he's a good player.
Yeah. The second goal was scored just a few minutes after that. I believe it was from a corner. Knocked on at the front post, and just a free body in the middle of the net, in the middle of the 6-yard box, just to tap it in.
It looked to me like it just sort of missed everyone, bounced, and there's Henderson to just tap it in with his head on the 1 yard line. Goalkeeper's nowhere to be seen because he's been taken out of play.
Yep.
And then directly after that we had a red card, which was interesting because it wasn't actually the referee that gave the red card, and obviously it was him that produced it, but he didn't see the challenge. So I don't know whether it was one of the fourth official or one of the two assistants on the side.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out either when watching it. I couldn't figure out who gave it because
So the decision itself, when you look at it in isolation, it's a clear red card. There's no real debate for it. It's a stamp on the player. It's a straight red card. Where the complexity is the actual awarding of the decision. Referee's gone correct. Ball's gone. He turns his back to the play. Doesn't see the stamp. But where it comes in is the assistant on the touchline side, with both coaches has still followed the play, or followed the previous passage of play, and has caught it. He's then, presumably over the communication or the flag, he's buzzed it, and he's alerted the referee what he's seen. The referee's taken advice, sent him off. Nice and simple. Good teamwork, and to be fair, for a decision like that, if you're a player, if you're going to go in and stamp somebody, you probably would do it after the passage of play's gone, because you're more likely to get away with it. But nowadays, with every bit of kit that we've got, it's a difficult one, but very good decision. Clear red card, and from what I'm led to believe, it will be a 3-match ban for Hendry.
I don't think anyone can argue the point, and I think it was well done by the refereeing team to see it, and the good use of all the officials.
I thought it was quite confident work from the assistant. The referee turned round and straight away produced the red card. It wasn't like he went over to talk to him to see what had happened or that. The official must have been the assistant must have been dead confident that it was a red card, which is...
You have trust.
Yeah.
If I say to somebody, yeah, it's a stamp, and if I haven't seen it and I'm told, yeah, it's a stamp, okay, it's a red card, it's a stamp, I haven't seen it. They've clearly seen it. I'm happy to go with them. Yeah, red card. Bye bye.
Do you think
silly.
Also that the I don't know, looked like a bit of an aggressive push towards the head before the stamp as well?
Yeah, I
after
noticed
the
that as
challenge
well.
was made. Do you think that maybe contributes to it as well?
Yes and no. Yes, because you take the full picture, but no, because the push is a yellow card offence in itself, but the actual stamp's the red card offence.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I mean, generally, you've got a decision right, and the players don't react, and nobody really did. The player just kind of trudged off. Nobody really complained. So generally, that's a kind of understanding. Yes, okay, that is right. But it's a stupid one. You're 2-0 down. Okay, you're not necessarily in the game, but you can still have a chance to get a result. Just seems a silly one
Yeah.
to give away.
Right, let's do it. Let's talk about your man, Armad Nandwili. He came on. What minute did he come on? Anyone got?
I believe it was 60-something. I'll just see if I can double check that for you.
Yeah, but a really sort of instant impact for me. It was on the 60th minute. Come on to replace Boyce.
Directly on the 60th minute.
And then
Came on to replace Boyce, who was actually man of the match for that game, and I was really impressed with Boyce. But came on to replace him. Took him a little while, but he had some good touches and good sort of link-up play with other players before he finally got himself on the score sheet in the 84th minute. After some terrible goalkeeping, I've never seen worse, really, where he just kind of gets the ball parried out to him, and it's as simple as to finishes.
To have saved so many shots prior to that, to keep the team
to do that
almost in the game, to then just give a silly one like that is was strange.
Possibly a lapse of
Yeah, I think
concentration.
so.
You could
Maybe.
probably
If you
Yeah, they've been playing with 10 men for three quarters of an hour, so I think eventually when you're on the back foot for that long, sometimes something's going to give.
yeah. Odds are if you face that many shots, one of the ones you're going to make a mistake, especially at this level. It's
Yeah,
you don't
and
have world class goalies that are down here, so
it's really good from Nandwili to be there, in there lurking, waiting, because striker's instinct. He knows
yeah, it's
that
smart
something
work.
could come to him, and it's
Yeah.
it's a good finish.
I do believe he'll be a very good signing next season when they go up, because obviously he's a big
Yep.
physical striker.
Great. Just
He
credit
could
that
offer
to
something else.
if they go up, sure. If,
I'm gonna give
If
them the
they go
win
up.
No.
when they go up. I'm gonna give them the win they got,
probably
because
say,
they are
if
they are
Just
storming.
um,
I've got
12
to.
clear.
they're storming
to
away.
agree.
They're
2
12
games in
points
hand,
clear.
though. Rated to have 2 games in
Yeah.
hand. So we'll just call it 6 clear. You know, as Celtic
True.
fans are always going
Yeah.
about the games in hand.
Yeah.
So can't,
We'll love
can't
it.
call anything yet.
Games in hand are
Sure,
guaranteed
They are
wins,
wins.
guaranteed
but we're
wins,
not gonna talk
especially when
about
they're
that
against
till
teams like
later.
St Mirren. You know what I mean?
and
We'll get
Hamilton.
on to that. We'll get on to that.
Right.
So Nandwili capped off his debut, a debut double, with it was almost the best leap of the weekend, but it was a sensational leap from that corner to get up that high and kind of nod it home,
Yeah,
direct
it
it
was
in.
some height
That's
on
it.
it. I don't
He's
know.
a big lad. He's 6'4".
Yeah,
6'4", and he got about 800 miles off the floor.
He's have snow
I
in his
think, I'm
head
pretty
after
sure that's what it was
Right,
that.
measured
did.
at, actually. Yeah.
Uh huh.
So do we move
Official
on to the Morton
measurement
game?
marks
That'd
him
be
at
the next
800
one.
miles. Morton Inverness. Morton 2, Inverness 2. An action-packed game from start to finish. Not really, but yeah, both teams came out the gates quickly. Morton firing home after 3 minutes through McGinty. I just don't even know what's going on with the defending. It's just shambolic from the free kick, and it just eventually falls to a Morton player and is fired into the back of the net.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
and then Inverness were quick to respond after that though. A whole
A
minute
later,
later,
yeah.
they equalised.
Again, yeah, it was again tragic defending in my opinion. Nice play from Inverness, but also
That is
tragic
Morton,
defending.
though, so we can't really expect
yeah.
much better. You know, I mean, you get what you're given when you go and see Morton play.
Yeah, true.
And then the next goal was, what was it? About 10 minutes later?
10
Yeah.
minutes later, yeah. It's a long ball, and the goalkeeper comes out for it, but doesn't get anywhere near it, and he's just rounded by the striker, and it's passed into the
Yeah,
net
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah,
Really dealt with.
Right.
and then I believe about roughly an hour, 10 minutes later, Omar got his second yellow card and got himself sent off. So not only were Morton losing at this point, they were down to 10 men. Was there a way back for them?
Well, yes, it would take them a while, but 66 minutes in, they get the equaliser. That earned them the point, really. After the ball's crossed into the box, and the Inverness goalkeeper just kind of flaps about and flounders around on the floor while it's just finished past him quite comfortably by the striker.
Yeah, I think a draw is probably a fair result for that game. Although it was very very intense. Like it seemed Morton seemed to play better when he had 10 men. A bit of resilience and seemed to
Yeah,
to get a point, which might be defining this season.
I wonder whether fitness had anything to do with that, because I believe that was Inverness's first game in a month. They'd had quite a few call-offs before then, so to go a month
Yeah.
without games is, even with training, your fitness is gonna take
Yeah,
a
it's
hit. Your match
sharpness as
fitness.
well.
So
That'll drop off
Yeah.
slightly.
I wonder whether that actually had anything to do with
Mhm.
it. But hopefully Inverness can start to get their games on soon and clear up the backlog
Yep,
that's
there's
happening.
not much time left.
Maybe build up their points.
Because they've got 3 games in hand around against
Mhm.
most teams around them. So
Yeah, that's true. Could move
Could
up
be
the
pretty
table
key,
quite
yeah.
a bit. So we go to the Prem games now.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the midweek premiership games, and we start ourselves off in Dundee as Dundee United are thrashed very comfortably by St Mirren 5-1.
You know, it's strange. Before this game, St Mirren they weren't struggling, but they weren't scoring that many goals.
Yeah, they weren't high flying.
They were winning games sometimes, but they were never scoring they were never like going 3-4-0s in games, or scoring 3-4 goals in games. So to score 5 against a Dundee United team, which is it's not been very good this season. It's been a bit shaky at times. They've not really found their form that I thought they would. I thought they would come up to the Premiership and find some form.
I know their defending midweek was awful to say the least. James McFadden said it was like they were like doing strikers against cones, is what he described the Dundee United defence as. And I've got to sort of agree with him. Like, the defending is criminal for a lot of the goals.
Yeah, it is.
It is
And
horrendous.
on that, we'll go to the first goal in the half-hour mark. St Mirren get a free kick just inside the half, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's floated in to back post from where it was, and it's headed back across goal before it's finally headed again back across goal and into the other corner. It just didn't even look to me like any Dundee United players wanted to jump for the ball, wanted to go challenge for it.
No, it was just very poor defending overall. Like, for that, it was when the ball's played into that area from a free kick, you have to challenge for it. You have to win that first ball. If you lose that first ball, you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I completely agree. It didn't.
They're playing
To be
a game
fair-
of statues.
Yeah,
for
to be fair, the
large fields.
second ball they did go for the
That's
second
good
ball.
instinct to actually get onto it, but some pretty poor defending from Dundee United, which is kind of what we've been used to for this part of the season so far.
Yeah. And 10 minutes later, they struck again with a penalty. But this one, I wasn't too sure about the validity of said penalty.
Oh, right, so this is where I get the 2 pence worth, right? Yes, it's a penalty for me. I think as the ball comes in, I think the cliche would be yes, it's a soft penalty, but it's still a penalty for me. I think there's contact to the back of the player, and player Whitley was down. I think that you can justify giving the penalty there, but equally, if he hadn't given it, I'd have supported that as well. It was one of the ones. But yeah, for me personally, I think it's a penalty.
I don't want to say it's soft, but
I'll say
there's
it.
light contact, and he's on the ground. He's on the ground quicker. Yeah, he's on the ground quicker than like you can blink an eye.
For me, it's one of those ones where the fact that he puts himself to the ground quite dramatically, it makes it seem softer because he's trying to force the referee into giving the decision, which sometimes you have to do.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So it's one of those ones where it's not diving to force the referee to give a decision. You just have to emphasise the contact sometimes.
Yeah, I get you.
For me, it's a penalty.
Yeah.
Although extremely, is the phrase coined soft. It is a penalty. He did overreact, but I think, like you've mentioned, Craig, it's just for the referee to see clear as day that there's been contact.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And then
And it was 3-4 minutes later, they got a second penalty. This time for handball, and I don't know the handball rule, but
I don't
just
think
doesn't
anyone knows the
look like it to
handball
me.
rule.
For this one, I'm not convinced.
I don't know the handball rule, so yeah.
Well, we've got that on record now.
It's for me. No, it's not a penalty. Well, one, it's not a penalty. No, it's not a yellow card either. I don't think the arms tucked in the body.
The ball's coming at him at some speed because it's just been
Pace of
rattled.
the ball, yes, okay, it's very pacey, but there's a considerable distance. But the player, he tries to turn to prevent his arm from, tucks his arm in and tries to turn, and it's hit him. I can't, if he sticks his arm out and it hits him, yeah, okay, penalty kick all day long. for me, I just can't justify that he's made the body unnaturally bigger than the natural silhouette, which is the kind of ruling that we go by. He's
Yeah.
tried everything, in my opinion, to try and mitigate the ball hitting his hand.
I think the St Mirren players kind of made the ref's decision for him with that reaction. I'm not saying not saying that the referee's corrupt, but just
I don't think so. I
you
think in an
wouldn't as a
empty
Celtic
stadium,
fan.
I don't think so. I think the problem that we have is with empty stadiums, naturally you lose concentration, and I think that's possible. It's happened
Yeah.
because it's I just can't understand why it'd be given. There's nothing obvious for me that would suggest it would be.
The only reason I
you
can
know,
think it's been given is because it's John Beaton. You know what I mean? That's really that's the only explanation I can think of. Two
you would
favourable
say
penalties given by John Beaton. I don't know if we've heard that before.
Got to say though, for McGrath to step up and this second penalty it was very confidently put away in the top corner. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure on the player to, if they get two penalties in quick succession like that, to put the second one away. Did they go to the same place? Did they switch it up? But he switched it up. He went into the top corner this time, and it was very, very, very good
Yeah,
penalty.
no, two good penalties, two good finishes, and St Mirren. I mean, they were well worth their lead. I think 3-0 maybe slightly generous in the first half, but Dundee United didn't really threaten too much. So I don't think there can be many complaints over the scoreline anyway.
true. And Dundee United might have thought they were back into it just after half time when they scored through Hearts.
Yep.
Yeah, it was actually
some finish.
Yeah,
It's
great
actually
finish.
some goal as well, yeah. The goalkeeper just kind of looked up and kind of went, "Where is everyone? What's going on?"
good.
Yeah.
Good finish from the edge of the box. Just curled it into top corner. The goalie didn't really have the position to save it. It would have been a very good save if he'd managed to
Yeah,
save
there's
it.
not
So
many championship keepers that are getting on that, I don't think.
I don't think many Premier League keepers would
No.
actually get on it either, considering
there's not many keepers
how well
second
placed
on
it was.
No. I don't, but then they looked as if they might have been getting a bit back into it, but nothing ever. I don't know, it just didn't really seem to click after that at all. They were getting a few attacks, but
well, I think they tried to force themselves too much into the game, and then they left themselves open. Then St Mirren just played a long ball up, counter-attacked, and there were just so much space for them to get another goal. Go 4-1 up.
I completely agree. And then that would have been, was that Connolly that got the fourth goal?
What's Connolly that got
Yeah.
the fourth goal? Yeah.
And then
It's just sort of like a hopeful hoof though. From whoever it was, it hoofed up to him and no one's actively covering the runner in behind, and he just runs through and slots it past the goalkeeper.
I think it might be the worst Dundee United has played all season, in my opinion. It's definitely up
It's
there.
definitely up there, yeah.
They were shambolic from
Yeah.
front to back. 5-1's flattering, in my opinion.
that's true. It's not very often we sit after a game and
Well-
say St Mirren could have scored more than 5. But that time, 19 shots they had.
It's a
19
strange
shots they
feeling.
registered that game, which is a lot of shots for a team further down the league.
Yeah,
It's a
it
good
is.
performance all round for them, and whatever Goodwin's doing, it's working out.
And the fifth goal's just absolutely shambolic from
It's just-
Dundee United.
I don't understand why the Dundee United player let him get by so easily down the wing. He tried to force
Let
him
him get
out.
by him so easily. Yeah.
He tried to force him out and then just gave up once the ball was past him. It was shocking defending, and then no one else seemed to come over and try and cover it. So just let him get into the box, play a nice simple
Pass it.
pass across, and
Yeah.
a tap in.
Tap in at back post and no one's there to even attempt to block it or save it because everyone's been taken out of the game by the easiest pass
It
ever.
does seem like the kind of defending that you put out when you are 4-1 down in the last 10 minutes. It doesn't. It seems as
Yeah.
if they've basically just given up trying to not concede goals at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really surprise me. So a well-deserved win for St Mirren. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, we can all agree that. And another well-deserved win is Ross County versus Motherwell, a 2-1 win for Motherwell.
That's a very important result down at the bottom of the table there. Like,
Yep.
Hugely important.
two
result, yeah.
teams that are fighting for the to avoid relegation right now. For Motherwell to get that win after Yogi's came in, he's kind of revitalised the team, but they're not getting the results, but they're putting in better performances in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
Well, they played well. They played well against
Mhm.
Rangers a few weeks back, if I remember right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they
they weren't
played really
they
well
weren't
against
terrible against Aberdeen either. So it's just been waiting to click until they can actually get the 3 points, and that's them finally done it. So maybe they're past that hurdle.
Yeah, for the first goal, Declan Gallagher's defending is
I was
downright
gonna say,
horrendous.
He gets
For
sold
a
rotten.
guy that plays international football, he'd be as well having a statue at the back because he'd at least have stayed where he was.
got to say, for a guy that plays international football well as well, that's the
Yeah,
thing. It's always confused me how
He,
when he comes into Scotland team, he always seems to put in a good performance, and then he goes back to Motherwell and puts in performances like that. It's
Yeah,
a strange one, but
yeah, but it looked as if they sort of not got a bit stronger as the game went on, but they stopped letting in as many chances as that first half went forward, at least.
yeah, and I think for the first goal as well, I think the goalie really, you can't just push the ball into
Mhm.
a
Into the
position
path
like
of
that.
the attacker, yeah.
You have to push that wider, or try and hold on to it. It wasn't that hard of a shot for him to try and
Mhm.
hold on to, in my opinion anyway. Well, I'm not a goalkeeper, but
I was gonna say,
unless
you
we're
are a
playing
goalkeeper.
five-a-side.
well,
You are a goalie in the five-a-side for the five-a-side
That's it.
podcast team.
Yep.
I should have said I'm not a very good goalkeeper.
Well, allow
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Granted, well, I'll
Give
agree
you
with that.
Yeah. Motherwell came
Um,
back into the game just after half time.
Motherwell, yeah, took their time, but again, the goalkeeper,
Yeah,
the Ross County goalkeepers, sold them that goal.
it's one of those ones where he's been watching the Motherwell goalkeeper in the first half and thought, yeah, I'm going to copy you. Seems that's how you meant to save it.
Weakest save in the world.
It's another
game
goal
of
for
weak
Devante
goalkeepers.
Cole. He keeps scoring. He's playing well at the minute for Motherwell. He seems to be one of
He does.
their standout players so far
Nah,
this
he
season.
looks like a good player. He's probably going to need to be key if they're going
Certainly proven
to
a lot of
stay
guys
up. I think he's going to have to be key.
After that goal, we do move on to the leap that we teased on earlier, which was from Mugabe. I believe he has now broken the record for the was it the record for the biggest
Yeah, Cristiano
Very strong.
Ronaldo's record. Yeah,
75 centimeters off the ground.
yes, unreal.
That's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
so there's no defending
Um,
that.
No, I did see a few people online saying, "Oh, yeah, it's easier for him to break the record when he's playing against like rubbish defenders." But
You don't jump higher because the defenders are worse.
yeah, I know that's it.
Come on,
It was a strange one. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So yeah,
bizarre.
Again, Beavis Mugabe, another good player for Motherwell. I think he's came in and done quite a good shift
Yeah.
at times.
he
Works
has.
hard and passes the ball quite well.
Nah, he's been good in that. Well, good-ish in that midfield. Hopefully, just add a few more goals to his sort of repertoire going forward. He's a big boy, so he can be a big threat in the box,
So-
especially with that leap.
Yeah, huge 3 points from Motherwell, and move on to a game where the points were halved. Well, not half, but shared. A goalless draw in Perth between St Johnstone and Aberdeen, and for me,
I was about to say,
Just
the
another
less said
drama
of this
affair.
game, the better.
It was yeah.
It
yeah,
was a
no, it's
snooze
just
fest.
I nearly fell asleep, and that was just watching the highlights.
I think it'd be time to put Coronation Street on instead.
Exactly, as a wise man once said.
I've got to say I was reasonably impressed with Matty Kennedy in the game though.
Yeah,
Was he wasn't stand out, but he had a few chances
yeah. I
here and
think
there.
Aberdeen. You could tell Aberdeen
Um,
wanted more from the game than the points, and Johnson did look pretty content. at certain points in the game. So Aberdeen looks as if they were trying, but it wasn't really working for anyone.
I think that's
Yeah.
kind of been Aberdeen all season though, where they've not performed to the heights that their team's probably
Yeah,
capable
and they're still in
of
third
doing.
as well. So they've still managed to
Yeah.
pull out enough points.
Yeah, and it just seems like at the moment they can't score goals.
And it's funny they've got rid of their striker.
They've got rid of their best striker.
Well,
yeah.
if they bring in the two strikers that are they're rumoured to bring in, and Fraser Hornby and Canberry, it would. I'd be interested to see how
Canberra
they do.
looks like a good sign. But
Well, I can just confirm that Aberdeen confirmed the signing of
No, there you
Fraser
go.
Hornby
Well, there we
from
go.
There we go.
Reims.
Well, I think that's a
Yeah.
very good signing for
He is
both parties involved.
Extremely tall. He's 6'5".
Yeah,
That's why it's a good
He'll be,
signing. No,
he'll be great to.
yeah,
to get
it'd be
them.
really good for them.
He's played a lot of games in the Scotland under 21s, but he's got the record for the most goals in it. Fair enough, he's been playing against like Sam Marino's under 21s and stuff like that. But the record's a
so,
record.
So was
It's-
Wayne Rooney.
You've
He
got
beat
to
with
be
So was
there
Wayne
to
Rooney at
score the
international
goals.
level, but they still count his goals, so it's fine.
That's what they do. They do call Fraser Hornby the Wayne Rooney of Scotland. They both look the same.
Yeah.
Same physique as well.
But that is another player where if he's got 6 months to show what he's got, show Steve Clark, if he deserves a
He's that
call
sort
up.
of, he could play that sort of
A
McBurney
lot-
role a little bit better, hopefully.
Yeah, and we'll move on from that game and Aberdeen for now, and we'll go to Glasgow where Celtic seen off bottom of the league Hamilton 2-0. Just again
it wasn't
another
a great
boring
game.
game. I watched the whole game, but yeah,
It's one of those ones where Celtic had a lot of the ball, but they caused themselves a lot more problems than Hamilton did.
Yeah.
caused so many problems with that terrible back line.
It's
I
it's a strange
don't-
one.
I don't see the perseverance. Well, at the moment, we're forced to play Shane Duffy, but the perseverance at the moment is laughable. Like, it's obviously not working. It's not going to work.
No.
It hasn't worked.
I think there was so many times where Hamilton just gave the ball like away far too easily. And you can't do that against Celtic, or else you are
Yeah,
going to
there's still enough
concede
quality
goals.
in that starting 11.
even with a Celtic side low in confidence and goals right now. If you give the ball away far too easily, you're going to concede goals.
Yeah, especially with Griffiths
Yeah.
up top.
And you say there's enough quality and Griffiths is up top. He did open the scoring on 11 minutes and quite a goal actually.
It was a very good
really
goal.
good
Yeah.
finish.
Well, a lot of
Some hit
time,
from the boy. He just takes it on his left foot and he loves a left foot hit and just curls it in from 20 yards out. And
I do
Keeper
feel
has no
Griffiths
chance.
did have quite a good game, but he did miss a couple of chances where if he was perhaps a tad sharper, he might have scored.
there was one of those ones where, although we slated him, Duffy did play a very good ball up to Griffiths, and he took the touch slightly away from him, and then he just couldn't get the shot away before the Hamilton keeper was on him.
Yeah, there was one at the penalty spot, and he just swipes at it and misses it completely.
There's definitely
Yeah.
something to the fact that Jurassity's only had 7 starts this season. Because we know if
Yeah,
Yeah, that game would be.
so like, we know that
so-
if he gets a good run of fixtures, and then he could add a few goals, especially as the season goes on. I don't see any problem trying to get him into the squad as much as possible. Unless,
and
and it all went a bit dry, a bit boring. I zoned out a little bit
There was,
until just after half time for me.
certainly,
well, before
Moyo
half-time-
had a good chance.
Yeah,
I
Moyo,
believe, in the
it just.
where
Oh yeah, he
kinda-
did. Oh,
He just kind of faffs at it.
I think he just didn't expect it to come to him. It seemed like, and it just kind of bounced off him. It was
yeah.
one of those ones where
Such a very
you
clear
have
cut
to-
chance though as well.
you have to at least like hit the
Yeah.
target there.
no, I agree.
And if he'd hit the target, he would have probably scored because Scott Bain is
Well, we'll go on to
terrible
that.
Well,
goalkeeper.
yeah,
Well, we'll move on. Just after half time, when odds on Edward, he seems to have found his scoring boots again, and again, it's a really nice goal.
Yeah, it was a cool finish.
At first, I
It's a-
thought it
it's
was
a-
going to be a very good tackle, and then he did so well to win, like to get the ball back from the
Yeah,
tackle.
and then touches it and just leathers it into the roof of the net. Well, not like the ball moved quickly, but it seemed effortless for him.
I think the one positive to take from the game is Celtic definitely, in my opinion, suit a two-striker formation currently, given the crop of players. Like, there's quite a few times where Griffiths and Edwards link up very well, and they would be providing good opportunities for each other.
Yeah, it's a strike partnership I actually really like. As much as I've got my problems with Griffiths at the moment, it just they seem to work really well together, and it's going to be a shame when Odsonne Edouard leaves at the end of the season, because that's inevitable. And who knows what's going to happen to
We're talking
Lee
about a strike
Griffiths.
partnership where both of them might not even be at the club come next season.
Yeah, both of them might not be at the club come next season.
I've got to say, I think although it's been confirmed that Nisbet will stay at Hibs this window, seems likely that he might go in the summer. Could be a signing for Hibs to try and make to get Griffiths back.
Possibly.
Who knows?
Possibly. It's a bit of a risk for a manager. I think for the moment we've lacked game time, But I mean, I suppose any manager in Scotland knows he'll do the job.
Yeah.
If you can get him fit and playing, then you'll get you the goals. So
quite right.
40 goal a season striker.
Yeah, under Uncle Ronnie.
But yeah, just in terms of that game, I was really quite impressed with Sorrow again. Just his sharpness, his movement off the ball and on the ball, and his passing, and just the way he just kind of sits and controls the game really quite well, and is definitely a good one for the future for Celtic.
Yeah, he's probably one of the only sort of silver linings there's been of the last sort of 2 months of football that we've managed to get him in starting 11, because he does look good.
Him and
Turnbull, David Turnbull as well. They both performed really well.
Yeah.
Got to look at them both and think, like, what has Neil been doing? Although they've still not been playing well, like, since they've came in.
Yeah.
What did Neil do? Why did he not play them towards the start of the season? Who knows?
I think both of them will be pivotal
Yeah.
next season.
I think so.
Like Sorrow especially has impressed me in the sense that often Celtic's play this season's been a tad slow, but his work ethic has been trying to help get the ball to Turnbull, who can make things happen. I think that's making a huge difference in him actually being able to cover mistakes from defensive frailties.
Well, Celtic do have a big rebuild next season, and I think building around a midfield of McGregor, Turnbull and Sorrow could be a start for them.
Yeah. Just depends who leaves and who stays and who gets brought in over the summer months.
As well.
And who the manager is, yeah.
I think it will be at this point.
But yeah, that was a good. It was 3 points for Celtic. I'll say that.
Can you guys not hear me?
Well, Matt is lagged out, it seems.
I never left on my screen. I could literally listen to you. I listened to you telling me, you've lagged out there.
I think Celtic's rebuild has got an interesting project.
I know.
There we go, you're back.
Some technical issues there. We are
right. Yeah.
We do the same to Billy, so you don't have to listen to him anymore.
Moving on from that kind of drab Hamilton game, it was the Hibs Rangers game, which I thought it was quite a good game.
Very end to end.
Yeah.
First half was unbelievably end to end.
I think we've got a few talking points in that game though that may or may not have swayed the result, but we'll go into them.
Yeah, it was. We'll start with the scoreline. It was Hibs 0, Rangers 1, and Alfredo Morelos controversially getting the goal. The goal wasn't controversial. Good goal, nice.
It was a good goal.
Nice passing play.
It's good.
Started by Morelos and finished by Morelos.
It's very good movement from Morelos to always, like, he never stopped. He always kept moving, waiting to see if the ball would come back to them. True.
Like a turgid slug moving across the pitch there.
The controversial part was
his movement's actually very good. It's just
see his movement of his foot into Porteous' leg. It was very good as well.
Really good.
Damage have accepted.
His movement
Rangers
actually managed
haven't
to
appealed that
avoid
one.
getting the red card as well. It was impressive.
Yeah, I think we can all agree. We don't know how he's avoided a red card for that, and obviously
I
has
don't. Yeah,
received a free match ban, which is fair. I think
Yeah.
surprisingly have not appealed that one.
However, on for the other team, there was also a possible stamp, which hasn't been given a
citation.
yeah.
Hmm.
So,
That's the word.
what do we think that one should have been given, or
For me, yes. After eventually looking at it from a better angle, because when I first seen it, I seen it from like a terrible angle and I wasn't sure. But after watching it a couple times since, I think it should have been a red card as well.
I think the more I do look at it, the more it does convince me it's probably a red card. It's just one of those ones where there's no. I know there doesn't have to be any force in it, but there's no force in him bringing his leg down on to Kamara, I believe it was. That he
Yep,
stamped
that
on.
was, yep.
Whereas Morelos, you could see there was definite force bringing it down.
Yeah, I think obviously Bill probably can give us a technical definition, but I do think they were probably both red cards. I know Morelos' decision tackle was a lot worse, and his stamp was absolute red. But I do feel that it probably should be a red for McGregor as well.
So is that why Morelos never gets sent off these days? Because he makes the decisions.
You'd
does.
think that, considering he didn't get
You'd
sent
think.
off.
Yeah, so this game took up most of my notes, running furiously for about every tackle. Yeah, the Morelos one, I think we can all agree it's a red card. It's similar to the Rafe one that was given. Well, that was given, but this wasn't given. The McGregor one, yes,
Yeah,
it's a
and I
red card. But I understand why it's not given. I think that if you don't give the first one, which was more obvious, if you want to be consistent, you can't really give the second one.
Yeah.
If you've deemed the first one accidental, which it has
Yes,
been deemed, the second one then you also have to deem accidental.
Well, here's one for you. I thought if the ref had seen the challenge, then they couldn't have any retrospective action on it. I thought that was something that came up last season around some challenges that were based on Morelos, I believe, as well.
Well, he does make those tackles sometimes.
So I thought that was a position that was in for the retrospective bans.
So the incident was seen at the time by the match official, but subsequently has then been reviewed by the compliance officer, who has then issued a notice saying that the incident has been missed by the officials. Now, the ins and outs of the procedure is questionable, in my opinion. I think that fans would benefit and prefer a much clearer line of communication, because I think majority of fans are frustrated that the wording of it kind of contradicts what actually happens.
yeah, I think
I do have sympathy for fans in these situations, but
I'm sure that's probably
yeah,
happened at
it's
some point.
because it's an act of
The last
violent
couple of
conduct
seasons.
that's been missed. You can bring it. You can review it to say, well, let's say hypothetically, Morelos punched somebody in the pitch and it was missed completely. It's the whole what we call
Wait for the
trial by
next stop
TV now.
I'm sure that's probably happened at some point.
So, yeah, I don't think in this incident alone, I don't think many people can have too many complaints. But I'm surprised McGregor has escaped action.
Yeah.
Well, there was also another controversial decision, possibly controversial, who knows. It seemed like Goldson pushed over Doige in the box.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for me, it's a penalty kick and a red card.
I think it's got, it's not completely similar, but it's got similarities to the first St Mirren penalty,
Yeah,
a push in the
Yeah,
back.
kind of.
Although this one would be deemed as a red card and the St Mirren one wouldn't be. But
Yeah.
so yeah,
I think it's blatant. His two hands pushed him in the back, and people were saying,
at
"Oh
all.
yeah, but he went for the header." That's because he was going to go for the header anyway, but he gets pushed over, so he can't go for the header at that point.
I'm surprised the ref has missed that, actually.
I'm surprised.
it's a very silly one from Goldson to try, because I don't think Doidge is doing much with the ball if he gets it.
It's an unfortunate one, and I know that sounds like I'm making an excuse, but I'm not. I think Hibs have been really unfortunate. The two major flashpoints have happened in two areas of the pitch which are really difficult to police. A quick counter attack with an early cross into the box, at best 25, 30, 35 yards away from that. And if you've not got the right angle, you can't give it. So that's not my defence, but that's my kind of reasoning as to maybe why it's not been given. But I think, though, for me it's a penalty, and then if you give the penalty, it's denial of Robert's goal scoring opportunity, and which is, for me, punishable by a red card.
I think if the ref sees it back, I think it's a red card.
Yeah. If the ref's seen it, yeah.
I mean,
Another key point I had in that game was that Morelos missed an
Over
absolute
the-
sitter.
I have
Crowley's
that
a
written
great
down
goal
as well.
scorer.
I
We've
He's
seen
I
him
don't
many
know
times
what he's done.
missing the odd tap in, so it's
deflection,
not
but he should
unusual,
obviously
even for how good
Oh,
of
he
a
should
goal
bury
scorer he
that.
actually is on his
It's
day.
one of those
100%.
ones where it's
It did
easier
take
to
a
score.
wobble.
Takes a slight touch off the defender's foot, but
Then
That-
takes
even
the
at
bobble.
that, yeah, I still think he should finish
Mhm.
that, or at least do better.
We've seen him many a time missing the odd tap in, so it's not unusual, even for how good of a goal scorer he actually is on his day.
Yeah, I think that brings me to I believe it was Jackson Irvine missed a sitter.
I believe he did as well, yes.
Where I think me and Craig earlier on in our group chat were having the
You
argument
barely
that
get eyesight
McGregor
half
had
the
his
time.
hand on the ball before.
I think that's a tough one.
That's it.
It's one of those ones where we had to actually break it down frame by frame to see where he did have
No.
the hands on the ball. It's one of those ones where the ref obviously doesn't have frame by
Doesn't have
frame
that
view.
privilege,
Yeah. So,
Slow mo.
Mhm.
but
That's why I'm
in,
sponsored by Specsavers, Matt.
in the end, the chance is missed. So the
Yeah,
decision.
it didn't really come
was
to
fine.
anything for either team. Yeah,
Never misses
Yeah.
that man.
Had I think it, been scored at, I'd be expecting it to be ruled out.
yeah.
As
That'd
That'd be
typical
my
Alan,
interpretation of it.
typical Alan McGregor behaviour was making sure the referee knew about it.
He always does.
I think people in the other side of Edinburgh would also know about it because they probably heard him.
he's loud, isn't he?
I think Josh Doig had another very good game. Some of his crosses in the first half and the positions he was taking was very good, and I think quite harsh to be taken off. I felt that he was one of
Yeah.
Hibs' better
No, he was a
players
good player.
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
first half.
I actually really liked Doig. One of those ones where he said himself that he wants to look at moving to the Premier League and following Tierney and Robertson's footsteps. So we'll have to see where he goes.
Yeah,
No, he was a good player.
looks
Yeah.
a good player. He's a bit. Sometimes he's caught positionally out of position, and he's caught playing terrible crosses into the box sometimes. But it's something you
That,
can
that
work on.
kind of brings me to the point of the Rangers' goal. Porteous's positioning was downright probably criminal from a guy of his ability. I don't know what you guys think on it.
Yeah.
They should have done better. Or should have done worse. But I don't know. I felt
Yeah,
he was
I think if I was
I
a
think
Hibs
it was
fan,
just
I
quite
think
that-
it was
badly out
sort
of
of
position.
A lapse
a
of
little bit
concentration
hard
from
done by
Hibs
in the
as a
game, but
whole, because
also
they defended quite well apart
you
from
can't
that.
switch off like that when you've got a guy of that quality
And just
in the box,
let him. Because
because it's going
although
to cost you.
Morelos has his
anything.
controversial moments, you can't let him have that much space in the box, or he is going to punish you.
Yeah.
I think if I was a Hibs fan, I'd be feeling sort of a little bit hard done by in the game, but also you can't switch off like that when you've got a guy of that quality in the box, because it's going to cost you. Anything.
Yeah. And after that, we'll move us on to our last Premiership midweek game. A game that continued Livingston's run, and they beat Kilmarnock 2-0 at home.
Yeah,
And
it'd be
they really
a bit
left it
harsh on the
late, didn't
goalie, I
they?
think, for
They left it
playing
late,
for
89th
that goal.
and 90th minute goal um, to secure the 3 points against a bedraggled Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
I think the first goal took a slight deflect. At first, I thought it looked like the keeper could have got it, but it took a slight deflection to go
Slight
in.
deflection, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and I believe that was the 89th minute, and then I
Is
think
it Cabia? That's his first goal for.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then after, if you concede in the 89th minute, your confidence is going to drop, and I think that was clear for the fact that a minute later they went up, and it was dreadful defending and dreadful goalkeeping as well to let it go through your
Yeah.
legs for that second goal as well.
Yeah,
I was
going to
say, yeah. It starts with the ball. The move starts and it's finished within 30 seconds of Robbie McCrory kicking the ball up the pitch.
Yeah.
He launches it long and it's just not dealt with, and falls to Pittman, and he just slots it through the goalkeeper's legs, and an embarrassing evening is capped off with that.
Yeah,
for
you've
Kelly.
got to say, I don't know what Brandon Hamstrup, if I'll say that correctly. If not, I apologise. I don't know what he's doing for the second goal.
Yeah.
Just extremely sloppy defending, especially when Kelly need a result.
Yeah. And well, that was our midweek Premiership fixtures fulfilled, and we'll move on to the weekend, and we'll start back in the Championship again. Our first game, Ayr United back at Somerset Park, a 4-1 victory over Alloa.
Yeah, actually, I watched the full game for this one, so can talk quite a bit about it. One person that I actually really liked watching that game was Tom Walsh. I think Ayr missed him quite a bit this season already because he got injured in his first or second game with us, and he's been out and he's only recently
Yeah, no, it was a
coming
good
back.
finish.
And
It was
you can see he wasn't fully
possession,
fit, but this game he really
and
came
then put it
back
home.
and
Yeah, he did.
he
It was
made
a really good
massive
game for
impact
him.
in the game.
Actually, he was probably the best player in
And
the
he showed
park.
that with his
the majority of the
finish
game.
for the first goal. Deflected out to him from a corner, and managed to squeeze it through the bodies into the net.
Yeah, no, it was a good finish. It was got himself into a good position and then put it home. Yeah, he did. It was a really good game for him. Actually, he was probably the best player in the park for the majority of the game.
And
Yeah.
so Ayr started well there. That was the 6th minute they scored in, but then the 11th minute they give away a free kick at the halfway line, and you think that's just a free kick at the halfway line. That's fine. Then Alan Troughton runs up and hits the ball.
Yeah,
before anyone's had a chance to sort of
got to do a bit
set
better. But
things
I know
out,
that there's not time
yeah.
to sort of reset
Flown over
himself.
everyone, and it's into the
So I
back
do
of the net
sympathise
from
with him a
about
little bit.
45, 50 yards.
Yeah, it's pretty
Former
close to the
Ayr
halfway line.
legend.
So got to be an early contention for goal of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to stand by the goalie's got to do a bit better. But I know that there's not time to sort of reset himself. So I do
Yeah.
sympathise with him a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where
It's been a sort of poor, it's been a poor run
at
of
his time
form
at Ayr
for
so
as well. Sort of
Sonny
since the
Sal's had his
tail end of last year.
fair
into the new
share
year.
of critics, but I think it's just the so-called boo boys wanting to. They need someone to blame, and I think he's the one that they've chosen this season. So, for
It's been a poor run of form for as well, sort of since the tail end of last year into the new year. Yeah,
it has been, yeah. But at home, they're on a good run of form at home. That is the one thing. They've not lost at home in a while. I believe it date back quite a while. I can't actually remember the date that it dates back to, but I think it's February last year. Although
Yep. 25th of February last year.
obviously there was a few months without football, but to go almost a year without losing a game at home is quite impressive.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side, Alloa not a win in 6. I think that's probably
they got the
gonna
ball into some
one of the-
sort of
seal-
difficult areas
not
as well.
not
'cause
to
they had a couple of
be
headers that they just
presumptuous, but I think that might
that they
seal
sort of hit straight
their
at the goalie or
fate.
sort
I
of over the
think
bar.
if
So
they
they kinda
keep
got themselves
losing
back into the
games
game,
of
but I
that
think
fashion,
that's
I would be
the
very
reason that they're
surprised
obviously
if they
down
can
there is
stay
because they
up.
can't take their
They have been
chances.
holding their luck the past few seasons in the Championship, in my opinion. So
They got the ball into some sort of difficult areas as well because they had a couple of headers that they just that they sort of hit straight at the goalie or sort of over the bar. So they could have got themselves back into the game, but I think that's Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the,
Yeah.
the main problem is the defence. They've conceded 32 goals in 13 games this season,
It's
which
not.
is
It's not.
Yeah,
poor
really good finish.
viewing to say the least.
But like you said, they did have a header just not long after they scored, and it went into the goalie's hands. Probably should have done better. But then, not long after that, McCowan is a very good young player. I really like McCowan.
No, he's a very good young player.
Gets the ball,
And it's really good goals.
puts it
Well, he
onto his
works it
left
well
foot and
onto his
just
left
curls it
foot,
in.
creates that
Like that.
space. I think maybe because
one
we
of those
don't
ones
see
where
it that often, players aren't that
I want to
wise
see
to
more
not
of
let
that
him
from
onto
McCowan.
his
I think
left foot
he's got more of that in
as
him. He just
well.
needs
But
the players around him and the confidence to
yeah,
get out of him. So
there's not a lot of space there. He's a very good young player, and it's really good goals. Well, he works it well onto his left foot, creates that
Yeah.
space. I think maybe because we don't see it that often, players aren't that wise to not let him onto his left foot as well. But
Yeah, he jukes two defenders as it, and then just sort of
yeah,
nah,
finds the space. Mo Salah-esque and finishes it into the side net at the far post.
we do. Into the second half, we did end up getting a penalty, which was a clear penalty in my opinion. There's no need for us to go too much into depth in that one. But although Muirhead is Ayer's penalty taker, he does take a lot of penalties. Muirhead where he's times it, like Partick and stuff like that. I would have liked to see Wright hit it. I think if you've got a new striker in, and you get a penalty, give him the chance to get his confidence up. Because a lot of goal scoring in the lower leagues is based on confidence. If you can get your confidence up, you can go on a wee run of form, scoring goals. You're going to get a few. So Muirhead puts it away very well in the end, but I was disappointed that I didn't get to see Wright hit it.
Yeah, it's a tidy little finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good ball.
Well, a scintillating air display is capped off again by McCowan.
Yeah, and
8 minutes
well,
later.
McCowan,
Yeah,
was it him that tried to chip the goalie
Tom Walsh
towards the
getting
end of the game
his
as well?
second assist of the
Went
game,
through that
down
trick.
the wing, cross in,
Yeah,
McCowan,
so he had a wee chance to
plenty of
get
space.
a third one in
a
there.
really
But
nice cross as well.
overall, a good display for him.
Nice cross and a good finish, especially contested with the defender in front of you.
I think
Yeah, McCowan, was it him that tried to chip the goalie towards the end of the game as well?
um,
Going through that trick.
I believe it was, yes.
Yeah, so he had a wee chance to get a third one in there, but
Another one I liked
overall, a good
the look
display.
of in that game was Ndaba, on loan from Ipswich. There was a lot. When we signed him, I was under the impression he was a centre half, but we seem to have been playing him a lot of left back the first couple of games. And there's a lot of times where he picked the ball up and he drove forward with it.
No, he looked solid.
And
He did, he looked solid.
If he'd got support with him, then it could have been some good chances. But he's not a. You can see he's not going to be a guy that's going to skin the team and score himself. But he seemed to be good at picking the ball up in good positions, and
Yeah.
stopping them from doing much with it. So yeah.
No, he looked solid. He did, he looked solid.
Hopefully Ayr can build on that momentum going into Friday night against Hearts on the
Yeah,
telly.
because I've noticed that they are
The wee plug there.
only 3 points off the promotion playoff places.
It's one of this league is so tight. It's if you go
It's
in a
very tight from
if you
top to
go in
bottom,
a
isn't it?
poor run of 3 games, you're struggling. But then if you can win a couple of
Lot
games,
of
you're
games.
back up well in a fight. But
Yeah.
so
And you're talking about Hearts, so we'll move on
Yeah,
to
he did.
Hearts.
Really
At
good game.
home to
I think
Dunfermline.
if I'm a
Um,
Dunfermline fan, I'm
It's a
bit
1-0 win for him.
disappointed
A
to not
happy
come away
1-0
with
win
anything
for Craig Gordon, his
from
600th
that performance.
career appearance, keeping a clean sheet.
well,
Yeah, great goalie.
with that being his 600 career appearance, he had a very good game in my opinion. I think both keepers had a very good game.
He had an amazing game, yeah.
There was some.
If I'm a Dunfermline fan, I'm a bit disappointed to not. It was a really good goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite an even game. Both teams had some very good chances, but both keepers were well up to the chances and made the saves. But it's one of those ones where you leave
Yeah.
a player like Walker to give him a wee bit of space. He'll punish you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
It was
very
always going to
even.
take a bit of quality
Yeah.
to decide
Very
that
even,
game,
and
'cause it was tight and they were
obviously
missing
it
chances.
took 81
I think the
minutes
second
before they
half
scored.
Hearts sort of came into it a little bit more.
But
There was a few
it's
more
really
good
nice
chances.
play.
Um,
Played into him, and
yeah, it
he
was
just fires it
a really
back
good bit of
across
play from
goal and
Walker that got them the goal.
finds that last sort of corner before the post, and the goalkeeper had no chance really, did he?
No.
There was always going to take a bit of quality to decide that game because it was tight and they were missing chances. I think the
Yeah.
second half Hearts sort of come into it a little bit more. They had a few more of the chances. And yeah, it was a really good bit of play from Walker.
I think it proves the quality of Hearts that they're grinding out results, and they've got such a good goalkeeper. Like in my opinion, Craig Gordon would still do it for most teams in the league above. Good solid goalkeeper, saves points.
Yeah,
He was instrumental today. Oh,
the foundations
Not
of your
today, but-
team, the core of your team is so important, and Craig Gordon just sort of he was a great signing for Hearts.
Got to say,
Yeah,
although
Williams had a really good game as well because
Owen Williams
Hearts,
hasn't played.
for all they weren't at their best, they definitely could have had that
Well, I
game
don't
won
actually know if he's good
earlier.
at all for Wales, but he
if
has
it
been
weren't for a
called up
good
to the squad.
performance.
So two international
Yeah,
level
I
goalkeepers
completely
really
agree.
against each other, which is probably why you've seen so many of the good saves being pulled off in that game.
Yeah, Williams had a really good game as well because Hearts, for all they weren't at their best, they definitely could have had that game won earlier.
yeah, Halkett
If
had
it
quite a
weren't for
good chance.
performance. I can't even pretend I watched it. I missed it.
Yeah, and we'll move on to
Yeah.
Morton Arbroath, another one which Arbroath came out 1-0 winners in the end, but it took them again another while to score the goal.
I think that's another one of those games. The less said about it, the better. To be honest with you, it was.
Yeah,
I can't
It
even
was-
pretend I watched it. I missed it.
Well,
Yes.
you've been glad you missed it.
But with Alloa losing, that is a very good result for Arbroath taking off the bottom. It just puts
Yeah.
even more pressure on Alloa.
That's obviously
That's
Jack
a lot.
Hamilton, who's just came in on loan, scoring the goal.
Yeah, starting his career off well.
Um,
Arbroath.
Also,
so
it was Jim McAllister's final game before retirement.
it was his
yeah,
final
he has
game.
So I
retired.
wish him well in his retirement, playing 361 games.
It's quite impressive, yeah.
I think what it highlights is Morton's lack of attackers. I think they've struggled for goals, but maybe not so much recently. But I think when Plan A doesn't go their way, they don't seem to have a Plan B, a Plan C, or a Plan D to kind of sort things out. But I can see here that they have just announced the signing of Keziah Sterling on loan from Tottenham for the rest of the season,
That's a
who is an attacker. So he might be the spark that's needed to kind of get Morton scoring again.
going on Morton's lack of attacking threat. A player that I really thought we were going to see more of this season was
He was a really good
McGuffey.
young player.
I really thought when
With a
he
lot of
moved to Morton, I
promise, but
think
it's just not seeming to
he's
work
going
out
to get a
for him at
chance
the
to get a good run of games in here. He's going to prove what he couldn't really manage to prove too much at Ayr. But he's not done it. He just doesn't seem to.
moment.
Maybe he just doesn't have the ability that it looked like he was going to have. So
He's a really good young player with a lot of promise, but it's just not seeming to work out for him at the moment.
I think it's a very tough league if you're out for a couple of games to then find yourself back in a team that are sort of in the wolf pack, if you will, in the middle.
For me, that would suggest to me there could potentially be a training issue.
yeah,
With a squad as threadbare as Morton's, who are lacking attacking creative players, somebody like McGuffey, who when he was, in kind of peak form Ayr, was at times unplayable. I struggle to understand how he's not made it into a Morton team that's crying out for creative players.
yeah. Before we labour on this game for too long, I'll swiftly move us on to what I saw as a bit of a shock after Wraith got destroyed by Hearts. They went home and they sorted themselves out and they've beaten Dundee
Yeah.
3-1.
it's,
It was a
it's
good
one of those
ball.
ones where Dundee
Really
made
ball
all
for the
these
goal.
signings, but you have to be able to do something with the signings. You can't
Yeah,
You can't-
they've not.
just buy a team. You have to fit in together.
Mhm.
Dundee did start off well, getting a goal. Osman so doing what
Started-
Osman so
yeah,
does
they
best.
started really.
Scoring in the championship. And
Yep.
Good ball.
They started really brightly, really sharp. Quick goal 5 minutes in. Great cross,
As a-
fantastic finish, and just
Yeah.
looked like they might have kicked on and seen the game out, but unfortunately they could only hold on for 15 minutes or so before Wraith got the equaliser.
Yeah, I think Kai Kennedy has been so far a very influential signing for Rafe. He
Yeah,
seems to be what they're missing almost. I know it's very early to say what he'll do, but he's certainly in the games he's played, apart from the doing by Hearts, which is hard to comment on, but he's done quite well since he's come in for sure.
I think seeing the young players come in from either side of the old firm to the lower leagues, and like especially young attacking players and doing well. Like you've seen it a lot with Stephen Kelly last season. Like he came down and he played amazing, but then he's not really pushed on this season. So
I
I
just
hope
remembered the goal.
Kai Kennedy can get this form going, push on next season, see what he can do next season, and then see where it takes him.
Yep. We'll talk about Rafe's second goal, which is unbelievable.
Really good finish.
Absolutely
I think the
unbelievable. I
first
can't believe
touch
he's
sets
done
it
it.
up so well.
35 yards.
But even then,
on
I
the
mean,
half
you don't see
volley.
finishes like that very often in the
Yeah, he
championship. So
picks it up first
fair play to
touch
him.
just
Nah, I
in front
think
of him,
that's
and then
the
he just
best goal we've seen this week.
not chips it, but he
But
like
volleys
the
it.
half volley and gets over the
No.
goalkeeper and
Yeah.
still into the low portion of the net.
Cracking finish.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't have run though. I think the first touch sets it up so well. But even
Yeah.
then, I mean, you don't see finishes like that very often in the championship. So fair play to him.
One of those
That was a
ones
nice
where
finish.
where if he'd missed it, you wouldn't have blamed him for hitting it though.
Well, if it was you in pro clubs, we know you'd shoot it.
Yeah, it probably
And
wouldn't have run though.
Nah, I wouldn't have.
Yep.
And then
And,
a mere 5 minutes later, Kennedy topped off his performance with a quite a good goal, a well taken goal, like cutting in onto. Well, I can't actually tell you what footed he is, but
I believe he's right-footed.
so cutting onto his right foot, and you just kind of like have to place that one. You just guide it into
Finesse.
the top corner, and it's just added to his assist he got in that game, and
Yeah.
he was the standout player in that game for me.
Yeah, it's scintillating
agree with you.
performance. Getting the goal just caps off, doesn't it? It's what every sort of young player wants to do is when they play well, they want to score as well, and he did.
I think it's very good to, like we've touched upon, it's good to see these young players be brave and not just sit in the reserves at Rangers or Celtic or other big teams, and actually go and try establish themselves and get time at these other teams. Great example
Yeah.
is Craig's obviously mentioned Stephen Kelly, who I felt was one of Ayr's best players last season. He definitely came up, went down and
Nah,
proved
not working
himself
out for
very
the
well.
moment.
Yeah, he was, and you've got to say with a Ross County team that's struggling to do much, you would expect him to be doing better there. You'd expect him to be playing games and putting in performances, but it's strange. Maybe that the step up just
Yep,
wasn't
back to Somerset Park.
ready for it.
He's kind of had a mixed bag so far, but he's
We'll take him.
only young, so he's got a lot of time to develop his game, and maybe another
He's a
loan,
known supporter
maybe
of the
back to the
podcast.
championship wouldn't do him.
I'd take him back in a heartbeat. So,
Well, time to make some
So,
phone calls, I guess.
if you're watching this podcast, Stephen Gerrard, then just feel free to send him back.
He does love the
Sure is.
podcast.
Ayr will gratefully accept him. Yeah. So that was a final championship game of the weekend. Yep.
Yeah,
So it sees Hearts now 12 points clear, although Rafe do have games in hand, but you never know what's going to happen in such a tight league. But it looks like Hearts are going to not run away with this, but they're going to go back up
Now you can say
straight
it.
away.
Yeah,
I think they're going to run away.
It's-
Yeah,
They should.
they really should. Yeah, 100%.
yeah. It's one of those ones where, as well, you could see when Ayr went to Tynecastle and
I mean,
scored
do
3
you reckon
goals.
they
You
could just
thought
sell like a run for the money at the moment?
maybe Hearts aren't that
They
good,
get no
but then
money to
Hearts
run
come back
with.
and score 5, and it just shows their quality.
He showed their quality in the cup final, where they gave Celtic a team, a league above, quite a good run for their money at times.
Do you reckon they could just sell like a run for the money at the moment?
Well,
and,
moving
All
on.
I've got written down here
Wow.
is Shane
Speaking of
Duffy's
Celtic,
pish.
we move on to a shambolic affair.
That's all I've
At
got.
Celtic Park. Celtic 1, St Mirren 2. St Mirren capping off their fantastic start to the week and finishing it on a real high for them. Pick up another 3 points.
Yeah, all I've got written down here is Shane Duffy's pish.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Well, there you go. That was to the point.
yeah. St Mirren opened the score in 18 minutes in,
Can we-
and you just can't. It's criminal defending on the left hand side. Greg Taylor and Shane Duffy linking up for just some of the worst that I've ever seen. Just letting the ball get passed through them and cut back, and
He's really
it's put in.
for a
And,
while. He looked
well, Bain's a ghost.
nah,
Bain
he
is a
wasn't that
ghost
good.
in net.
I think
Yeah,
also
He's
just
not
before
there.
we move on to
The
that,
ball
we'll
just
give credit to St Mirren.
attempts
It wasn't
to
really
save
good
it, and
passing
it just
move.
goes in the back of the net.
I've got to
As
say,
well,
I
it was
have
really
to
good play
apologise
from
for
St
being
Mirren. I mean,
an
they
advocate for Greg Taylor to be starting overlaps out all these times.
yeah, I
but,
think if I was a St Mirren fan, I'd
he's-
really like to
he's
see
not
more of that.
shown himself much
I mean,
there.
St Mirren who've had obviously
That
the
wasn't good, yeah.
2
No.
wins now. I'd be looking to see more of that because it really was a good goal, really good play from them.
That was, yeah. I was gonna say shambolic defending, but that's just because I'm a Celtic fan. I'm gonna get pissed off about it. But
I think if I was a St Mirren fan, I'd really like to see more of that. Yeah, five of his last 6, 5 of his last 7 or something. Edward in the league.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we get ourselves back into it in the 32nd minute through odds on Edward. Player, I think he's picked up form again.
Yeah, it's not even his
scoring.
best contact as well for
But,
the finish, but puts it on target.
Yeah, it's another really nice move. Cal McGregor just bursts
like
down
the
sort of
bottom
like the
corner,
left hand
so
side of
it'd
the
be
box.
hard.
Cuts it back into Edward, who takes a touch past the defender and finishes coolly across goal. Goalkeeper.
I do think Anik
No,
maybe
yeah.
has to do a tad better. Not
Yeah,
to say it was
the
a
goalie
good,
kinda
it was a
stood
good
no
finish,
chance 'cause it's
don't
odds
get
on
me
Edward,
wrong,
though.
but
Yeah, considering
I don't blame him not saving it, but I feel when he got a hand, he maybe pushes it slightly.
Yeah, and
further
again,
away.
I think
Yeah.
again credit to Douglas.
So,
He gets his
yeah.
leg up high.
Just as I thought we
bring
might
that
have kicked
ball
on and maybe
down. He takes it
got
when
a
he
lead,
finishes it well.
the shambolic defending reoccurred 5 minutes later, and Dermis scores for St Mirren, and
that was his first goal of the season as well.
oh Christ, yeah. But so
So-
it starts off
Hamstring
with
doing
with
that.
near Beaton being miles out of position, trying to cover something that he doesn't need to cover,
Yeah,
and then
he has
Shane
played in the
Duffy
Premier League.
loses the ball in the air, just turns around and runs away from the man.
It's it's a very strange bit of defence for what is obviously not anymore, but a Premier League quality defender in years gone by.
Yeah.
You think things like that you don't
He's played centre half
unlearn
the last couple of
that
seasons.
you
to be
meant
fair.
to stay on your
Not
man.
not
That's
that well.
That's like
Yeah.
101
Not that well,
defending.
Obviously, Celtic at the minute
No,
are playing
I agree
Duffy
with
and Beaton. Beaton, who obviously get injured, hope he recovers soon. But as a CDM, he's not a centre half by any means.
He's played centre half for quite a while now.
Yeah. And then
Not-
we
not
then
overly
we
well,
got
but
our,
I
our
think
last
that's his
season
natural
second
position.
choice
I think
goalkeeper
that shows with the
playing
second
extremely
goal.
well down in the Championship.
Um,
You know what I mean? It's
And again, I'll touch on Scott Bain
I
again.
don't understand. I still don't understand.
He's just
I'd
such a
take it back to
tragic
the heartbeat.
goalkeeper.
Craig Gordon.
And he's Neil Lynn's third first choice goalkeeper of the season. He just
Yeah.
keeps making goalkeepers first choice goalkeepers.
Then we see like our last season second choice goalkeeper playing extremely well down in the Championship. You know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a strange one.
I don't understand. I still don't understand. I'd take it
Hey,
back to the heartbeat.
There was so much frustration you could see in the Celtic players. Like they, you can tell that you can tell that some of them are trying. It's just that it's not working for them at all.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
I mean-
Well, I do know what needs to happen with him. They need to get rid of the Lennon, but
Callum
Yeah, he's
McGregor,
probably-
I felt had
Probably one of
quite
the
a
only
good
players
game
I'll
all
give him
I was
credit
gonna
for
say,
for most.
Like,
Callum
most
he
of
put,
the
McGregor,
he
putting in
put in a
at
shift.
least
He was
putting in an
literally,
effort for the most of it.
the only guy at points actually trying to create things, in my opinion. He was literally
Yeah, it
bombing
was-
down, looking for passes, trying to be smart. On the
I was
ball.
extremely impressed with Cal McGregor again for another game.
Probably one of the only players I've given pass much
Yeah, it is
at least putting in an effort.
an effort. Yeah, his movement, his passing, it just everything about him, and he's coming into the prime of his career now, his physical prime. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can kick
He's
on and do if we
also,
keep him.
One of few that's always seems to get interviewed for Celtic TV. He's not afraid to shy behind
Yeah.
I think
what's happening this season.
it's one of those ones where, as more than likely a future, well, already has been captain of his club this season, but more than likely the future actual full-on captain of Celtic. You have to, sometimes you've got to take the brunt of it. You've got to be the one that steps up for the interviews. You've got to, even if it's not going well, you've got to be there.
I feel bad for him because he is almost, whenever something goes bad for us, or we lose, or we don't play well, or we draw, he seems to be the one that's forced out for the interview. Whereas when we win, it's like, oh, we'll interview all the other players because we've won, but now because we've lost, we'll interview Callum McGregor. And I feel bad for him because he only gets interviewed when we do badly.
We'll not try that
He's quite a
again.
utility player. Like he's something that Celtic.
We need left backs, but not
next
him.
season obviously should look to build a team around, because he's the type of guy who is deceptive. He's quite good defending. He's equally, when he gets the opportunity, quite good going forward.
Yeah, just not a left back.
No, not.
No.
Oh,
Never a
you might
left
need a
back
left back.
We need left backs, but not him. And some absolutely shocking defending
So,
from Dundee United.
moving on from that game.
A team with a good left back. Hibs beating Dundee United 2-0 away from home.
Not a good couple of games for Dundee United. 2 home games, 2 losses.
And some absolutely shocking defending.
It really is.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, well, they were doing what is
and the dogs
coined as
keep
the
barking.
train for
The dogs keep
where all
barking.
all the Hibs do the train for the
The love train.
technique.
That's it.
I think it was
Oh,
just
It seems to work. Like I know it's perhaps unique, but the train seems to be moving, and I'll try and make a
Got to-
Wikipedia quote out of that.
It arrived in the station of goals.
Yeah.
The trains keep chewing.
Yeah, I mean,
even though it wasn't the best defending
he can tell
for
what comes out to me, he just smacks
Darren
it.
McGregor
Like,
to get
I don't think there's much
the
thought.
ball
I'm just
through
gonna hit this as
that
hard as I can and see
cluster
if it goes
of
in.
players, was still quite impressive, to be fair,
Yeah, it was.
for the first goal. Although he really should have been closed down a lot faster from
Nah, we'll let him off with it.
any of the Dundee United players that were right in front of him.
Yeah, he played this one. It was actually that Jackson Irvine as well got a little bit of a mention to him, done well to sort of keep the
It's a
ball
good
in at that
like
byline
a
and get it back
striker
to him.
style finish.
Although
As well, he had a good
controversially possibly
Getting
should
the
have been
assist for
playing,
both
so
goals.
you've got to think about that.
True, but we'll let him off with considering he did play.
Yeah.
He scored.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It was actually that Jackson Irvine as well got a little bit of a mention to him, done well to sort of keep the ball in at that byline and get it back to him
Yeah.
as well. He had a good game, getting the assist for both goals.
Yeah, I've got to say I was actually really impressed with the assist for the
It's a
second goal.
perfect way.
I think
Again, it's
when you've
shambolic
got
defended from Dundee
when you've got a player
United, but
with
it's
like
like
Boyle's
it's
pace,
as if he stuck
you've
like
got
3
to
mannequins
to be able
in a
to just
row
play those balls. It
and trying
sometimes
to get
makes
the guy
it
to
seem
pass
easier.
between them.
But
They just don't react.
he just-
because obviously if you're
he
playing
just
against
played it
Martin
so
Ball, you
well
gotta
and
know that
so-
you've got that pace to get him
like
time.
the weight was
But they
just
just didn't
so well,
anticipate it.
so good. That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. It's as if he stuck like 3 mannequins in a row and tried to get the guy to pass between them. Especially
Yeah.
given the fact that we're all obviously from here and we all know everything that Shankland had done when he was playing down this
I feel
way.
like
It's
we've
just
used
he's not. What is it?
I
4
feel like
goals
we
this
used
season
that
or
word
something like
shambolic
that?
too many times about Dundee United in this episode.
Yeah, it's not. And
I think
we
they're
know
just
we know he
underperforming
can
to
score
what,
goals. We've seen him
we all
score
thought they
goals
were capable of doing.
on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
Especially given the fact that we're all obviously from here and we all know everything that Shankland had done when he was playing
Mm-hmm.
down this way, and it's just he's not. What, is it 4 goals this season or something like that he's got?
Not very many.
No, I agree.
I think.
Yeah, not very many. I don't know the exact number.
We know he can score goals. We've seen him score Yeah. goals.
But like
Don't be
I
surprised if
pointed out
Dundee
earlier, it's
United
a
make
lot
big
of
move for
goal
Michael
scoring.
Moffat. 30,
It's
what is it,
confidence. If you can get a
38 or
good
something, I don't know how
run of
Michael
form
Moffat is.
going, you will score goals. He just needs that run of form,
Right, so he's in his
and
he's in his
probably
prime.
needs Michael Moffat back
He's in
next
his
to him.
prime, and they should go for him.
We'll let that slide.
Yeah, ask him
Yeah.
if he's available.
Dundee United make a big move for Michael Moffat. 30, what is he, 38 or something, I don't know.
He's not 38, Matt. He's
36, 35?
34 is what I would say.
He looks about
There's
60.
no doubt it does touch his arm.
Um,
And they should go for him.
yeah, I'm just gonna shift us to
Yeah,
an incident
35.
in this, an incident in this game, the Hibs game, where it appeared that Doig, may have handled the ball. So
It's
Billy,
not-
what's
it's
your
not for
views?
me.
Well, yes, he handles the ball, but it's not a penalty. Now,
It hits another
if anyone's
ball,
listening and
but-
is instantly confused by that statement, I'll explain why that's the case. So the ball comes in, it bounces off what appears, I think it's his thigh. It bounces off, and then it hits his arm. Now, and then he kind of swats it away, almost volleyball like, out for a throw in. The law states that if the ball hits another body part before it hits the hand, it's not a penalty because defenders played a controlled touch, or he's played a touch. Doesn't necessarily need to be controlled, but it's taken a deflection or a touch off another part of the
Yeah,
body,
that's fair.
which then nullifies the handball, which is a law that was brought in 2 seasons ago, I believe. So Dundee United can feel very hard done by with
Yep,
handballs in the last 2 games, but unfortunately, it's just the way it goes.
Yep. Fine by me then.
That's
And we'll move on, and hopefully not for long. We have to talk about this one. Livingston 0, Aberdeen 0.
I think
We'll talk about Livingston though. We'll talk about Livingston because they do continue their form. I think it's 10 league games
10 league
unbeaten
games.
and 13 in all competitions.
I do have to say there was chances from both
If it
teams in that
doesn't,
game.
it's a brilliant
Um,
save.
There was
a brilliant save from Lewis to
a
keep it out.
chance where
Prior to
I
that,
believe
to
it was
early in the
Pittman.
first half,
He really should score it,
United,
but Lewis comes across
Aberdeen
so
had
fast.
a couple of good chances.
And
They
it's
had
one
the
of those
bar,
ones where it might have
and then
possibly
there was the
crossed the
ball
line,
cut
but
back to Johnny
you can't
Hayes,
really
where
tell from the camera
he
angle.
just doesn't get
So we'll just
himself
have
into the
to
right position.
call
and
it as
smashes it over
a
the
no
bar.
goal.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was, Aberdeen had chances to put themselves ahead early, but I think in the second half, Livingston sort of had a couple more chances. Yeah. And then there was the ball cut back to Johnny Hayes, where he just doesn't get himself into the right position and smashes it over the bar. So, Aberdeen had chances to put themselves ahead early, but I think in the second half, Livingston sort of had a couple more chances.
I think it was tough on Aberdeen as well because they did start the game without really a recognised striker.
Yeah, he should have scored.
It's obviously going to be harder to get goals without a recognised striker in the part. But then later on they did bring Bruce Anderson on, who
Really?
I was never impressed with him at AR. He didn't really come in and do what I
Breaking
thought he was going
news.
to do, and he missed a free header late on.
Yeah,
Well, it broke.
So I think that tops
to
that off.
mention Bruce
Yeah.
Anderson, he is going on loan to Hamilton.
What?
Well, there you go.
Well,
Oh my lord!
It wasn't breaking news a few hours ago now. Actually, for once,
So,
it was
it did
me
break,
that
yeah.
actually that came up with first. Normally, it's one of you guys that tell me the news.
so there you go.
That was the first for everything.
An interesting one that, because I never really seen much Emmett Eyre that made me think he was going to
Warrington
Do well,
going out
yeah.
on loan again. Yeah.
Warren going out on loan to a better team. Well,
Well,
you say a
a
better.
team in the better
Yeah,
league.
they did beat us this season. So
Yeah, strange one. But we'll move on to our final game of the weekend.
Nah,
And
I'd say it's got a
what a game it was.
very
Kelly 2, St Johnstone 3. Kelly have thrown that one away. Two goal lead, and
Yeah, it was a very dire performance from them.
They didn't actually deserve to be 2-0 up in the first half.
They didn't. It was very against the run of play, I've got to say.
It was.
Not for me. Not
you
enough.
take
for
your
me.
chances and you get your goals, and you just have to. You have to do better. You have to hold on better than that.
Although they can,
Especially against St Johnstone, who aren't really firing at the moment.
they can slightly feel hard done by after the first goal. There was a wee incident where one of the St Johnstone players did
Yeah.
kick out
I
a
think-
Kelly player. Possible red card. What was the opinions on that one?
It's probably
No,
a different story if
um,
there's more if it's more clear contact.
Probably talking to mostly yellow. I think it's more a
It was a
tangling
good,
of
good
legs.
first goal from Burke as well. It
kicked
creates the
it
space well. It was
free
a
himself.
sort of similar
It's
finish
not
to like the Walker finish, cross goal.
There's not much in it for me.
I think I've got to agree. I think
2 assists
he
for
got
Kabamba as
lucky
well
that he
in this
didn't
game.
connect with the player.
He was probably
If he
one
does,
of
then
his
he's
better players.
looking at a red card, I think.
It's probably a different story.
Yeah. So I think that's quite clear that it probably wasn't a red card, but
He's dragging them through. He's what, 37 years old.
it was.
2 assists for Bamba as well in this game. You know, he was probably one of Kelly's better players.
Yeah, well, I've got to say, well, mainly Burke. I think if I don't know where Kelly would be without Burke, because he's, in my opinion, is their best player by a country mile. I don't know.
And considering his age is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
What, 37 years?
yeah.
And then
So
that was Cibola
yeah,
that
it was
scored the goal.
the second goal. Good.
Yeah, and the ball comes
Good
across
on the
them.
play. It just kind of falls to Kabamba in the 6-yard box, and he just taps it home.
Yeah, and then
I think
what's
it
after
actually seemed to
halftime
be
was
this
Melamed, wasn't
Kabamba
it, that got
blocked
them
the
back in the
original
game?
shot, and it just kind of fell to him.
Yeah.
Was it Kabamba?
Was it
That was Cibola.
It was
Kabamba took the
Cibola
original shot? Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm getting a
Yeah.
I was thinking
Confused,
there,
yeah.
looking at my notes, and that's not
Yeah,
what I've
Yeah,
got
there's
written.
a couple of sort of scrappy goals in there as well. What's after halftime? Melamed, wasn't it, that got them back in the game?
Yeah.
It was, yeah, and it was. That's a weird one. It seemed to be played across, and then as if the St Johnstone player managed to play such a very deft touch just to lay it off, inside the 6-yard box,
Mm-hmm.
and
A couple sort of scrappy goals in there as well.
so then that was followed up. 15 minutes later, there was a long free kick played in, headed back across, and then a goal line scramble, and it just finds its way into the back of net, and that's the equaliser. And I think it's another case of after that Kelly just lose all confidence and lose all ability, and
Yeah.
Kelly have a poor squad.
It's a bit-
You know, as I said at
It's gonna be a
the kind
big
of start,
task.
I think they'll be in trouble. I think they'll either be 11 for 12, but I'm going to say there are 12. They'll finish 12th. The squad that they've got,
It's a really good
two
goal.
or three
It's a good goal
respectable
from Fan
players,
as well.
and then
Takes it well.
if you look at the actual depth of the squad on the bench, I mean, Saturday, okay, they were missing 5 players, but those players that they had on the bench, they're not going to change games.
I don't
They're
think
not.
Malumbu is the answer to.
Yeah, and then Kelly's dreadful weeks capped off by losing the game in the 72nd minute.
yeah,
Really good goal. He did.
it was
Fan as well.
it was
Takes it well.
it was quite similar to Griffith's goal against Hamilton. I mean,
Mhm.
long range,
No, definitely the
along
best player in
ground,
that
into
game.
bottom corner.
Yeah.
But that it was a very good comeback for them, because it kept them above Kelly. And
I felt sorry to interrupt. I
On you
felt a guy Melamed had a very good game. He literally
That's a,
didn't stop, linking up play, couple of assists and a goal. So
yeah.
you
So
can't really ask
we
for
beat
more.
Hamilton. I'm pretty sure Celtic won. Did they not go like 7
that
without losing
win-
at one point?
or the comeback,
I think they did.
it took St Johnstone's unbeaten record to 7. So
There
there.
you go, I didn't know that.
Well, it seems everyone's got an unbeaten record apart from Celtic this season.
Celtic, they are sitting at 1 win from 5 since they returned from Dubai.
Thrown it in there.
So
Yeah. It's really good. It's good.
I'm pretty sure
It did.
Celtic won. Did they not go like 7 without losing at one point?
they probably
Maybe.
did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that loss was the third in the bounce for Kelly, and after the game,
Well, look,
very
Billy's
shortly
already
after the game, they
decided they're going
announced
down.
that
So,
Alex
there's no
Dyer
point.
has left the club, so no more
That's it,
Dyer
Luke's
football
gone.
for you Kelly fans.
Yes. It's one of the tough job for the people in Kelly right now to try and find the right
Yeah,
manager
but
to
also-
keep them up. It's going to be a very tough 6 months for them to see this
They're
season
they're
out.
still
Yeah.
4 clear of Ross County
To see
with
what
a
they're
game in
gonna
hand, which
do.
means 3 points, as we've already decided.
I
They might as well just give up.
I don't think the
Yeah, so
players
that's 3
they've got at the
points.
moment, you know, the depth of players that they have, I do not think, you look at the bench, there's no one that's going to change a game. There is
Yeah.
no one that's going to, if it goes wrong in the first half, there is no one there that will inspire the team to turn them around.
No.
They're still 4 clear of Ross County with a game in hand, which means
And
Yep. That'll
yeah,
probably
and their
put them up
next
the tail.
game is tomorrow night against Celtic, and well, yeah, that's 3. That is it's a
Going
win
by.
for Kelly, especially with the new well, the no manager bounce
I
back.
believe it's a
The teams get
co-caretaker they've got just now.
a co-caretaker. Oh,
Um,
lovely.
so
Yep.
we'll see where that takes him.
No, that's
see
the
where
last
that
time they will
takes
be mentioned on the show.
Yeah. In other news,
Yeah.
Celtic confirmed that Peter Lawwell will be resigning at the end of the season,
Yeah.
at the end of June,
As
I
I say,
think, from his position where he's vastly overpaid and,
we can't.
well, good riddance. Good riddance.
He's
I'll
been
say
knocking
that.
the door,
And that'll
Prince.
be that on
The
him.
door. He's been
No,
through
that'll
the
be that
door
on
for the
him. I
last
don't.
3
I don't want
months.
to speak about him anymore.
Short and sweet.
It's a good thing he
He's
doesn't
gone,
watch
and
our podcast.
he's gone, and hopefully Neil Lennon's next.
Well,
Yeah.
it's got to be one if he doesn't manage to beat Kelly tomorrow. He's knocking on the door.
Oh, we keep saying this though. We keep saying this.
No,
We keep saying this, and he's not gone. Yeah,
no,
he should
I
have
totally
gone.
agree.
He should have gone in October. But
He
look,
should have,
we're at the
yeah.
end, we're at the start of February now.
look, he said
For
earlier
fuck
on
me,
today,
do something about it. Get rid of him.
why would it be my intention
Well,
to
to be
go?
fair, at least
Why?
Livy have
Jesus.
That's what he
a
said.
fair
Why
would it be his
as their
intention to
manager,
go?
as we've
When-
found out.
When it's
We
got to a
don't.
point where
Can we have our
Celtic
investigation?
might not even finish second right now, it's
I know.
got to be
Sort
time
it
for a
out
change.
because I'm
for
getting
them.
worried about that. Yeah.
You can't be having Aberdeen qualifying for the Champions League.
Yeah.
You can't be having or
No.
Aberdeen or Hibs or Livy.
Yeah, if anyone
can't
made
have
it
an either
through
of them
the full
qualifying for the
almost
Champions
2
League.
hours, thank you so much for listening. As their manager.
True.
They do.
Yeah.
Yep, just thank you
And
to everyone.
we
If you
could go on
enjoyed
about this for
share
hours,
it,
but
show it to your dad, show it to your mum, show it to
unfortunately,
your brother. And
good
next
things
week will be a
always
little
have to
bit
come to an
shorter-
end. So
Shorter
this
period of time.
good, great podcast will have to come to an end.
A slightly longer first episode to get to know us.
Through the full almost 2 hours, thank you so much for listening.
So yeah. Matthew Thompson, would you like to say goodbye?
Yep, just thank you to everyone. If you enjoyed this, share it, show it to your dad, show it to your mum, show it to your brother. And next week will be a little bit shorter period of time.
If got
Craig Rigger, would you like to say goodbye?
well, yeah, thank you very much for listening. If there is anything that you would like us to discuss next week, feel free to either DM the Twitter or the Instagram or message the page on Facebook, either or. And share the page around, and if you do enjoy it, share the Twitter, and I believe Ferg will be able to tell us what different platforms this will be coming out on after.
Yes. Billy, for any final remarks?
Yeah, no, just thanks everyone. Appreciate all your support, and hopefully, if you do make it through to the end of this, it's much appreciated. If I've got anything wrong in law, I'm sorry. I'm quite tired. Can't really bother checking.
And Ross Stewart, anything to sign off with?
No, just thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for actually supporting us. The support has been overwhelming so far. Like the amount of people have taken the time to message any of us and ask us about it has been immense. So all I'm gonna say is thanks again. Hope you stay to the end.
Yeah.
We've not.
And it's a goodbye from me. We will be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. We'll see you about. Goodbye.